Welcome back to the deciding game in this series between Team Dignitas and Cloud9. After a stomp of a victory from Dignitas in game number 1, Cloud9 answered in turn and came back with a decisive victory of their own.
Yeah, and we're going to have to see how much of this has to do with blue side or red side and the team's understanding of this patch, because it does feel like in games 1 and 2, a very strong champion was given over to blue side in game 1. And I want to see if they can switch that up a little bit, because if there was enough strong things on a patch, you should theoretically be able to trade over some of the choices onto the red side. So Zach and Maokai don't necessarily need to ban one so the other team gets the other. You can leave both up and then force the blue side into banning one. So there are some things you can do to alleviate some of those red side woes, but C9 is not about that right now. First ban Zach.
Nope, C9 not letting Zach into the game, not leaving the opportunity for Shrimp to play it. They know what Contractz could do, and they're saying, we're not letting you do the same thing to us. While the mid lane bans keep on coming for Dignitas. Remember, this is the strategy they beat TSM with too. Just want to go ahead and reiterate that heavily focusing that mid lane is a viable strategy for this team. And Jensen's Orianna, you said it at the beginning of game 2. This has been his best champion by far. Dignitas was reminded of that the hard way in game 2. They remember now, and they're not letting it happen again, as Caitlyn and Maokai banned out by Cloud9. Dig gets first pick. Yeah, and it's probably going to be to this Kalista since the Caitlyn is banned out, and the Kalista now doesn't necessarily have strong lane counters. A lot of AD carry bans were thrown at Altec last game. It was fairly successful. They cannot do it this game because they opt for the jungle bans. But interestingly, Elise is left up, and that's usually a jungle ban that we just kind of stopped talking about because it had been so reliably banned away. I mean, C9 gets this essentially for a Caitlyn trade, which is what I'd like to see. Look at Altec's Kalista numbers compared to the normal Kalista play. Those are all incredibly impressive. They're pretty good, I would say. He has been dominating on that champion, especially because they would technically be able to put it with Thresh, which is why I think C9 will pick Thresh here. Elise Thresh sets up a beautiful pick composition. Contractz isn't fooling anybody with that. We know you already picked your jungler. Ooh, if they give over Kalista Thresh, that is bold. Ooh, Dignitas maybe thinking of giving Contractz a dose of his own medicine here. Nope. Nope. Yeah, I mean, yep. Just because he's hovering and catching flowers. No, we're gonna get excited. No, we're gonna get excited. Maybe. Nope. Maybe. Nope. Nope. Nunu Thresh. I should have listened to you. I'm sorry. You were right. I was wrong. What is happening? I mean, I missed Thresh when he was picked last game. They should just pick Thresh. Where's the Thresh? Let's get Thresh, man. Cassiopeia. Okay. Getting in the mid lane. Getting in the mid lane before more bans come through. Both teams have been so focused on that mid lane before. You can understand it, but watching Thresh go this far is a real surprise. Yeah, it is hugely, especially with the priority that's already been put on that pick this series. It's either banned away or picked early. With that being said, Kopp and Reapered are very dynamic in their champion selects. They will have a plan going in. It'll be completely different than their plan for the last game, and it's a strategy they want to run. So this game, it seems like heavy mid lane control for Team Dignitas. They're going to let those supports fall by the wayside. And they are happy with multiple different things that Adrian will be able to play with the Kalista, not pigeonholing themselves into Thresh. I've talked to Kopp in the past about the kind of preparation he does before these games and sort of his look into drafting and pick and ban, and he comes up with so many different hypothetical situations. Well, if they pick this, what would we pick? Or what if the bans were like this? And he just covers so many of his bases, making sure that he's got a plan no matter what situation might come up. It's very interesting just to see the amount of dedication and work they put into these processes, as Alistair and Renekton are banned away at the start of the second banning phase. Bit of a shift from what we've seen before. Yeah, Adrian's Alistair was quite good in game 1, so I can see wanting to ban that away. Especially since C9 technically can have first choice of a top laner or support in the second round of the draft phase. It's also why I feel like Team Dignitas is banning away the likes of Renekton, strong blind pick champions. Gnar also out of there, another strong blind pick top laner that does a lot against a lot of things. Yeah, top lane ban focus for sure. That impact right here. Now the choice is, does C9 want to counterpick the bottom lane with the support pick or the top lane? Because at least Kalista versus Trist, that lane can be dictated by the support choices. So fifth picking a support is a viable option. Cloud9 goes ahead, locks in Jarvan there for the top lane. We've seen a lot of him lately. He's very strong. You go for the Titanic Hydra, the Black Cleaver, the Stone Plate, that staple build these days that gives him a lot of damage threat. He's a burster onto a carry, and then he immediately just becomes super hard to kill once he's there in that Cataclysm pit.
Yeah, and we're going to get to see if Ssumday thought that Cho'Gath was a worthy option last game.
Nope.
He says no.
Apparently not. Did not enjoy that last time around, so he'll play the Shen this time. Look to help out his team that much more.
My.
Now this could be interesting.
Adrian was the classic Soraka player.
Come on, follow your heart.
Yes, Ancient Coin is really good.
Or Thresh.
Thresh Kalista is also insane.
Yeah.
All right.
Thresh made it all the way to 9th pick in the draft.
Yeah, that's weird.
That's a good word for it, Chad. It's a little bit of a weird conundrum that we've
just
found.
putting priority on different things, and then they go to counterpick with the Taric one more time. Although this isn't Taric with Wall of Tanks, so not quite as effective. None of Dignitas' damage is bursted, so I don't see the pick having as much value here. But I do think Taric is just really, really strong right now, and Smoothie was probably the best Taric in the LCS. He was one of the only people to play it in the spring split, so it makes sense that C9 can go back to it here.
Dignitas has quite a lot of damage behind this front line that they've mustered up for themselves. You've got a Shen and a Thresh to peel people away. Nunu can create this absolute zone of control with his ultimate, as well as make sure that Altec is doing that much more damage with the Blood Boil, just like we saw him doing to that Trist in Game 1.
Yeah, Contractz is Elise into Shrimp's Nunu. Elise is a really dangerous champion to counter jungle. Insane power at level 3, not to mention a stun. So I wonder if Shrimp will have to play more defensively, especially around that top lane Shen. Nunu Shen, not exactly something that creates offensive plays against Jarvan Elise. Contractz found a lot of success playing around topside last game. See if they can do it again.
I mean, if Elise decides to camp a bush because she knows Nunu's going to be walking into her jungle around that area, she's level 3 and Nunu face checks her unknowingly,
you can kill the Nunu.
Yeah, you can completely punish him and shut him down. And then, as a counter jungler, once you fall behind like that, you can't go back in the jungle anymore. Your entire game plan's shut down. So Shrimp will have to really consider his choices this game. Have good judgment on when to go in and when to play back a little bit. They just do a dab line?
They did a dab line.
Today, this is going to be a good game. That's a good omen, I think. Dignitas and Cloud9, one more game in this best of 3 to decide which one of them gets to walk away with the win here. Both games so far have been so decisively one-sided, too.
Yeah.
I want to see if we get a super close game here in game number 3, or if it's yet another wash back in one of these teams' favors.
Yeah, we can get to see if C9 bounces back from their 0-2 week with a 2-0 week. Also get to see if Team Dignitas can complete the trifecta of wins against the old guard of NA. TSM, COG already fallen to Team Dignitas. They want to put C9 on their list.
I mean, we call them the old guard, but they're still the new guard, too. TSM and Cloud9. Dignitas has the task this week of playing against the #1 and #2 teams from Spring and could potentially beat them both.
Yeah.
That's pretty ferocious heading towards the end of the split.
It's the toughest part of their schedule. And they've been showing up so far, really making that late playoff surge. And so much of it has been with Shrimp on Nunu. So I want to track how good their team fighting is. I think Cassiopeia is also one of Keane's specialties. A very good team fighting with that. Altec, as we mentioned, has been dominant on Kalista. So they do have them on champions that they can succeed with.
And I really do like the compare and contrast of the meaning of having a tough end of the split versus an easy end of the split, because we originally considered it as something to sort of be hesitant in talking about Dignitas' surge, saying that they have so many tough games ahead of them that it's likely that they could run into some road bumps. But at the same time, if you actually take down all those top teams in your final surge, it looks really good compared to if you beat 7th, 8th, 9th, and 10th. As Adrian and Altec go very aggressive, even at level 1. Altec finding some good damage onto Sneaky Dare as the explosive charge detonates and equalizes it a little bit.
Yeah, 100 damage. E from Taric does not dissuade Team Dignitas from going aggressive. They want to push this lane in. Adrian, we've seen Coin on Thresh, but he instead goes for the Relic Shield this time.
Going for the Targon's Brace path, as opposed to that Ancient Coin line that's just so darn effective. Good side steps from Dignitas again. We saw those before. We're seeing them now in game 3.
That Taric stunt is just really hard to land.
Yeah.
Surprisingly so. You think it's this wide thing you just get to move your body with, but people sidestep it all the time, especially pro players.
Altec continues to push it up. 10 CS farm in the first couple of waves, so missing out on a couple of them, but still managing to get that lane control for now as Sneaky will farm up his own wave. Oh no, he missed even more of them. Things are going okay. Altec and Adrian. Shrimp taking a bite out of the crab, though, moving up into enemy territory, thinking about going for that counter jungle against Contractz.
Yeah, but a smart ward by Contractz. He has played Nunu himself. They're actually hoping to bait a counter jungle. Shrimp thinks better of it, says, it's rather suspicious that no one is on this Gromp right now. I wonder if this is a trap. Back away.
Something doesn't smell right here. He gets himself back to his own chicken pit, continues farming on his side of the map as the stun does find its way onto Adrian this time. And Dignitas continues controlling the pressure down here, shoving that wave up. Ssumday farming up underneath his own turret. His jungler's not hard camping for him, like he had to experience last game, so he's not going to have the same easy laning phase that his opponent did in game number 2.
Yeah, and can pick up a lot of farm in his turret, especially after seeing Contractz with that ward. Contractz not wanting to stay off his Gromp, just if it means vision goes over. Kind of buys some time from Ssumday's early laning phase. Once he gets a few items under his belt, he can withstand a little bit more on Shen.
For now, though, he is at the mercy of Impact. Jarvan has so much powerful trading potential, and I like to talk about this every time we see him, because he's really powerful against tanks. You have the extra % HP damage on the Martial Cadence passive. You also have the % armor shred on the Q. He's just got the tools built in to deal with these guys.
Yeah, and you're almost always building Black Cleaver as well, so it's hard to armor stack against Taric and have it feel super effective. Can't be said for other teams.
Ssumday will go blow for blow with him, though. Hit him a couple of times, use the power of the shield to make the trade a bit more favorable for him. Tier already built on Keane in mid lane, too, as Impact gets a nice little flag and drag to have some burst onto his opponent, as Shrimp does go for that early Nunu Drake. We saw this foiled by Cloud9 in game number 1.
Jensen's on to the tricks, though. He does not want an early Ocean Drake going over.
Cloud9 is going to stop him. Dark Passage to pull Shrimp to safety. Good job by Cloud9 shutting that down, but now can they find the Drake themselves? Contractz has moved his way over here. Cloud9 going for the flash engage. Cocoon not finding its target, though. Contractz still on this Drake. Shrimp going to be brought low. Goes in. Secures the Drake, but barely. As Contractz drops for first blood, it's jungler for jungler. Dignitas guiding themselves back as Sneaky goes in, played backwards, and drops. Jensen trying to finish Altec off and does do so. Ssumday now the next to fall. A double kill for Impact as Smoothie goes over the wall, staying alive. Keane slithers to safety. Noxious Blast keeping himself sped up as Impact makes his way further forward, and Keane drops. 4 for 2, Cloud9.
4 kills, plus 2 kills for C9 at the cost of the Ocean Drake. Love the presence of mind for C9 to roam down here, knowing that Shrimp always goes for that early Drake on Nunu. Scouting report holds true. I also know how much Jensen hates landing against early Ocean Drake, so he was first on that roam, making sure it doesn't come down. But then, 35 health. Shrimp gets with an auto attack and then gets first blood on a Contractz. That tilts the gold a little bit, and then Impact was much stronger than Ssumday when he teleported in, so he is the stronger person here. The chases for kills down the stretch. Keane probably could have disengaged. Wants Smoothie baiting with the flash, gets the ward out, sets up that kill for Impact and Jensen. Nicely played down the stretch. Accuracy from Impact's EQ. The 4th kill goes over at the end of the fight, and all the kills go to the C9 solo laners.
Jensen on this Taliyah, back in Champion Select. When his stats came up when he locked the champion in, you saw he does a lot more damage per minute than most other Taliyahs. He puts a lot of work in on this champion, hitting those skill shots, having his accuracy where it needs to be, and getting a 2-0-2 start is a really good sign for him being able to do that here in this game as well. Shrimp, again in trouble, caught out in the river by the 4-man squad from Cloud9, punishing the Nunu and grabbing kill number 5.
Using that Elise to help them get picks. Also, Shrimp really had no reason to be controlling the Scuttle Crab right there. They're not setting up a Drake. They're not setting up a blue buff invade. They don't have anyone in lane. It's very unsafe, and one of the ways Elise can punish with that type of map advantage.
Cloud9 having a very nice start for themselves, akin to what we saw in game number 2. Dignitas not quite able to find that same momentum they had in number 1. Impact continuing the trades with Ssumday on the top side. Having that Tiamat on Jarvan means it's very, very easy for him to shove these waves out along with the Dragon Strikes and clear them almost instantly. As Shrimp has, like we talked about, fallen behind, which means he can't really flex on Contractz anymore. As Adrian goes in onto Smoothie. Sneaky returns fire onto Altec, getting a lot of stacks under the explosive charge. The Rin stacks come out, the charge explodes. Everybody walks away a little bit worse for wear.
Yeah, you can see, though, why Triss can be a good pick in a Kalista. The hook goes in, Sneaky just throws the explosive charge onto Altec and just starts trading right back. Relatively even trade, but then Kalista gets the shove afterwards. Thinking about this overall, though, Ocean Drake in laning phase versus no Ocean Drake in laning phase is a really big advantage for the Ocean Drake team. That's just balanced by the fact that the solo laners of C9 have more items because of the kills granted. So I want to see how this balances out. Currently, it obviously looks like a big lead for C9 because they have the kill and the gold lead, but really the Ocean Drake is an amazing laning tool, and it could help bring Team Dignitas back.
And I love how that's the conversation with Ocean Drake too. It's going to help a lot here as Smoothie gets himself ignited. Altec moving forward, more damage coming through. The Ren may be able to take it, and Altec finds kill number 3 for Dignitas. The power of this bot lane duo, even going up against veterans like Sneaky and Smoothie, cannot be underestimated, as Ssumday now going to be 1 versus 2 underneath his own turret, making the outplay. He's got himself one, but the repel will drop the aggro. Contractz skittering away.
Still just a 1-for-1. Ssumday gets a kill, and then Altec down to the bottom side. And this could mean first turret for Team Dignitas, which brings the goal back. And Ocean Drake is often not noticed for its strengths. But the fact that Altec and Adrian took a big trade 45 seconds before that kill, healed up to full, and then turret dove is huge. And the fact that Ssumday took harass from Jarvan, healed up before the turret dive, and then got a kill around is also big.
Another big thing, Cloud9 lost their turret only a second before Dignitas did. Contractz was almost able to rob that turret first blood away from Dignitas' 3-man squad. Sadly for him, he was just barely under enough damage for it. But this play from Dignitas' bottom lane.
Yeah, now it's a 500 gold game. Hook goes wide, which means C9 thinks they should go aggressive, but Adrian still got flayed. Curves the Colossus, invalidates the damage from the Taric stun. They just have the Ren stacks. Altec gets really close. Was actually kind of waiting for the heal from Sneaky, not wanting to rend early. Just gets him in execute range. Rends anyway. Heal never even goes off. Ssumday then gets early aggro onto Impact. Impact has no mana, so just QR. Nice kill picked up by Ssumday in a tough situation.
Very well played. Going for that Bramble Vest early this game too. And I kind of want to talk a bit about this item. New on this patch because of the way Thornmail was remade, but such a powerful 900 gold investment depending on which champions you're playing against. As Shrimp gets himself caught out and beaten up again, but flashing away, he stays alive. Stand United doing the job to keep him there as the taunt comes through and Dignitas makes the play.
Shen ultimate, absolutely saving the day, and the gold is now even from 1500 back. And just for that Bramble Vest, I think it can be an item on Shen. Other champions need a lot of help, whether it be mana or sustain, but Shen against Jarvan can definitely return a decent amount of damage on that one. Jarvan not necessarily a huge sustainer though, so I think pretty good against Jarvan. I don't think it gives him an advantage in that lane.
Also nice for pushing waves out too, since little minions will hurt themselves by auto-attacking it.
Yeah,
sort of like
a mini Bomby Cinder.
Dignitas going for Ocean Drake number 2. If one stack of regeneration was good, 2 has got to be better. Lots of Rin.
Pretty low though.
Nunu consume, ready to go as well. Will they go for it? No, they won't. The steal from Impact.
And that was a situation where they ran out of time. They wanted to get it to a health threshold where they could execute it, but Shrimp was dying. They wanted to finish that Drake and get out of there, so they stop about 50 damage short. Prevent their Drake stacking from getting too out of control. C9, big steal.
Absolutely huge to equal that out. Tragedy for Dignitas. A lot of
Ren spears. Smite up on Shrimp. Let's see what goes wrong here. Just Smite's hit, and it goes down incredibly low.
Ooh, Altec not able to sidestep the stun that time. And Sneaky capitalizes, grabbing a kill for himself. Him and Smoothie now pushing up onto this tier 1.
Now they get the Ocean Drake 2 for some of the regen. Dig moving for defense. They are here with an Elise though. It's a lot of tankiness to try and take down. That turret should be fine.
Yeah, diving onto these two would be very, very difficult. Next Drake's going to be Ocean as well. So all 3 Oceans coming out at the start of game number 3 here as Keane could be in some danger. Contractz coming in from the side. Wants to set this one up. Twin Fang comes down. Keane sidestepping away from the cocoon that almost kills Contractz, but instead he repels out at the edge of the range. Keane forced to flash as the stun is channeled by Smoothie.
Mid turret been under a lot of fire. Dive tried 3 minutes ago. Dive attempted again. We're only 12 minutes into the game. So Jensen at 3-on-3 constantly shoving up, wanting to put Keane into an insurmountable hole.
Sneaky backing up, but he's backing on a ward. Adrian firing off the death sentence, but this is pro play. This isn't solo queue. You're probably not going to be caught shopping when you're backing away. Players generally like to pay attention to things like that. Sneaky makes an easy getaway from that attempt by Adrian. Red buff spawning in Contractz jungle. This is what we mentioned earlier too, hanging around, making sure Nunu's not waiting right there on spawn.
Yeah.
But I don't think Shrimp's really thinking about invading Contractz anymore right now. He's so punished this game.
Yeah, this is a game where C9 has been much more ready for Nunu. They have forced really hard when Shrimp goes for objectives and made both of the Drakes really a toss-up because Shrimp has consumed smoke early both times, actually. It's just one time he got the auto-attack kill. The second time it was C9 that got the auto-attack kill because his life has been under duress while sitting at those objectives. So really over-forcing and C9 punishing well.
Keane continuing to try to hold the last little bit of HP on this tier 1, but he can't do it any longer. Contractz moves in for the auto-attack secure, and C9 goes up to a 2 turrets to 1 lead, as well as 2,000 gold up 13 minutes. Actually, the smallest gold lead we've seen so far at this point.
Seems like it, yeah, and it was even a few minutes ago. So earlier this game, C9 had a 2,000 gold lead, it equalized, and they get it back with the last great fight. Now with the Rift Herald too, they have a chance to take some very real control. The bottom turret is the last one standing. Unless we see Dig fight here, they do have Ssumday's ultimate. They could try and force. Cassiopeia is a little bit far behind.
It's a 5-man squad from Cloud9 though. Dignitas would really, really be ballsy to try to steal that one away.
Yeah, and they're probably trying to calm down a little bit after over-forcing. They still need Blade of the Ruin King on Altec. Want to scale up just a little bit. They can get a Knight's Vow on Shrimp's Nunu as well, because they do really want to play around this Kalista. Keane going Abyssal Mask Cassiopeia again. He did this yesterday as well. Prevents him from getting bursted out by Taliyah and allows him to play a little more frontline. Trying to make 2 durable damage dealers. Did work for them.
Trying to get in there on top of Ssumday, who saves the flash to get out of the Cataclysm. Preventing Impact and Jensen from finding what they're looking for. Good sidestep away from the seismic shove as well. Jensen and Impact still trying to take this one, but Impact cannot tank the turret any longer.
But they can Rift Herald now, because they picked it up on a Contractz and they know they harassed him down, so they can get that turret for free if they want. Contractz chases in for a kill. Farham might just drop the Rift Herald right then and there and have it charge the other way.
Dignitas, though, realizes there's a lot of bodies bottom side for Cloud9. They answer with a turret pickup of their own in the top side, catching up in some of that global gold.
And here it comes. You can drop it behind the turret. It'll still charge.
All right, Shelly, get in there. Okay, claws in the ground, and kapow!
Now Impact can walk in and finish off that turret, but there is a push going on the other side. So Team Dignitas doing a lot to try and equalize this.
Yeah, Dignitas already has that top lane tier 2 down to about 1/3 HP, but they will lose their bottom lane tier 1. Ssumday's there to beat the Rift Herald up a little bit, stop it from getting anything else. He shouldn't have too difficult of a time doing that. Goes for the taunt and the smack in the back of the head.
Yeah, game's still pretty close. Ssumday holding his ultimate. Would love to hit level 11 before he has to use it again, considering it's on a 200-second rank 1 cooldown. That's a
Very, very long time. When you think about most ultimates being on 120 seconds at most around rank 1, 200.
Like 3 minutes and 20 seconds.
Yeah, that's a long time to wait in between those standing unites. It's pretty much another summoner spell as opposed to an ultimate.
Pretty much.
But that's the hand he's been dealt picking this champion. It's so very effective. You just have to make sure everyone counts with a cooldown like that.
Yeah, items have been completed across the board, though, as Ocean Drake spawns in 25 seconds, setting up a battleground. Knight's Vow, Blade of the Ruin King, Abyssal Mask, you got Infinity Edge on Sneaky, Black Cleaver on Impact. I think we're in for another fight, because I expect Team Dignitas to at least be looking at this spot.
You can't just yield these neutral objectives if you draft a Nunu either. It feels so bad, like you're just throwing away the advantages of the champion you drafted. Dark Passage thrown down in case Altec gets in some trouble. Dignitas moving into the area. Wants to go for this one. Ssumday under continuous pressure from Impact, who maintains the advantage in that 1v1.
Yeah, Ssumday hit level 11, but he did take about half of his health and harass from Impact, which again should actually dissuade Team Dignitas from forcing.
Dig still hanging around for now. Wants to react to what Cloud9's doing, not force the issue themselves. Like you said, Knight's Vow up on Shrimp. I'm trying to see who he's got that connected to. Looks like Altec.
Yeah, there it is.
Yep. Arrow's pointing at him. Altec's got that extra protection, as well as being able to heal Shrimp up with his own damage. Impact over the wall. Shrimp loses a third of his HP to the basic Elise combo.
And here they go. Where's the Shen?
Goes in. Cosmic Radiance comes down. Impact going to be losing some HP. The miasma is thrown. Prevents the further aggression from C9, but the Petrifying Gaze will stop them now. Adrian trying to get more damage down in here, block these guys off as Dignitas kites themselves backwards. Jensen on the offensive with the threaded volleys, continuing to chase Dignitas away. 3 members half dead. Ssumday, the only one with a decent health pool. Impact almost fell there, but the Cosmic Radiance being channeled at the start of the fight was perfect for absorbing the front end.
Yeah, and Ssumday didn't ult Shrimp. He ulted someone else in that fight. We'll have to see it on the replay. Cosmic Radiance as well allowed C9 to dive with impunity into the absolute zero and invalidate that damage, but questionable ult usage there by Ssumday as they were kind of expecting him to come into the fight.
Now Ssumday starts up the fight onto Sneaky, but Sneaky's got backup and Ssumday is gone.
C9 quickly taking control of this game. Altec had to flash away from that seismic shove from Jensen. C9 starting to turn it on.
This is the Cloud9 from Game 2, and unfortunately for Dignitas, it's looking like the Dignitas from Game 2. They haven't been able to find their footing. Shrimp has been getting abused. They can't secure these fights in a way that's beneficial to them. And Cloud9 is just playing their game. The reason you draft the Taric is to be able to initiate like that. The reason you've got the Jarvan is to go in like that. And they're doing it right. They're doing it on their terms.
Yeah, controlled around here. Shrimp goes low, and then Shen ults in on Keane, who's full health anyway. Shrimp goes down. Altec also ended up stacking up impacts since he was the one who was in. Doesn't get the kill with the Ren. The rest of C9 just gets to chase cleanly through with no Nunu to stop them on the way past.
And the death sentence hit a Spiderling. That's one of the annoying parts about Elise for some of these hook-style champions or even just normal skill shots. Sometimes they find themselves getting stuck on those baby spiders instead of finding their way onto a real valuable target. Shrimp only just now hitting level 10 as Contractz is already level 11. Real advantage in the jungle for Cloud9.
Yeah, I mean, they could consider starting to threaten Baron around 20 minutes, but much like the problem was against Cho'Gath last game, against Nunu, the chance of a steal is even greater, so you need full control in order to try one of those objectives.
And there's still no completed items for Ssumday, by the way. He's got a lot of different pieces and parts, but it's still just like a level 2 garage sale. You've got a Tiamat, you've got a Giant's Belt, you got a Warden's Mail, you got a Bramble Vest, but none of those are a big item like a Black Cleaver that you see on Impact.
No Hydra, no Randwinds. He's just kind of getting pushed around by Impact.
And Impact with a 50 CS lead too has just been playing really well, especially for a guy that's received criticism this split. We talked about both Cloud9 top laners kind of struggling to find themselves in a spot where they're at their best, but Impact has been showcasing a very solid game of League of Legends this time.
Yeah.
Shrimp and the rest of Dig are just completely on the back foot again, trying to find some way back into this one, some chance for Cloud9 to make a misstep that they can punish, and Cloud9 is taking that step towards Baron. Whether or not it's a misstep will be theirs to judge, as Dignitas not moving towards this with any speed at all. Cloud9 already has it below 1/3. Jensen drops the ball to cut them off, and Cloud9 makes the Baron call 21 minutes in. Total success.
Very nicely done. Took them 36 minutes last game with a bigger lead, but this time they had the vision control tools, and they may as well try and fight if they can get it.
Impact couldn't close the distance, though. Didn't have flash, so couldn't get in range for the Cataclysm. But a Baroned up Cloud9 at 21 minutes now pushes down the mid lane to tackle these tier 2s.
Yeah, this could be a massive lead for C9 because it's already 5,000 gold, catches the stun.
Nice Fate's call. Altec doing good to save that support and keep them all right. As Ssumday doesn't really have a chance to make a Stand United play happen, we'll just continue pushing the bottom side up instead as Dignitas loses the tier 2 and Cloud9 gets away.
Yeah, Dignitas has been able to front run in a lot of these games, but playing from behind is a whole different beast. C9, 6,000 gold. Still just stacking up the kills. Jensen's had a bunch of control in the mid lane. Contractz' Elise has been on point.
And look at those item breakpoints we're hitting too. Stone Plate, now done for Impact. You've got Banshee's Bell, Morello's now working on Leandry's for Jensen. Sneaky, 2 crit items completed.
Yeah, Static Shiv. Even the initiation from Smoothies Talisman of Ascension to force fight from ahead. You wonder if they're going to dive to try and extend this lead. It is difficult to dive, Kalista, Cassiopeia, Nunu, but it is what could be necessary to break this game even more wide open.
It's difficult, but it is made easier by a Stone Plate and a Taric ultimate, which provides you a lot more durability than you would have in a normal situation. Cloud9 needs to make something of this Baron. We talked last game about how it seemed like they weren't able to finish nearly as quickly as Dignitas could. We talked about their hesitation around the Baron itself. It just seemed very slow going. A lot of times we judge League of Legends teams by not only their ability to win, but their ability to win decisively and quickly once they have a lead. And that's what we want to see from Cloud9 here. If this team really does want to say, hey, it's been a rough middle of the split, but we're still a top contender.
This win would move them to 8 on the split, tying Team Dignitas, who has been surging lately, but it would end their streak as well. Team Dignitas still trying to build up to that team fight power. Nice foul lock. That's a big hook.
Oh, that's a really big hook on the sneaky. Cosmic Radiance used. They get that big Taric ultimate out, and now can they re-engage and make this fight happen the way they want? Weaver's Wall to keep Keane from joining the fight. The damage comes through. Shrimp nearly going to be killed, but instead the shutdown out onto Contractz. Impact going in, the tier 2 still alive. Ssumday's got the counterattack taunt. Smoothie coming forward with the stun as Cloud9 now on the retreat. There comes Adrian looking to make the play, but the Cataclysm comes down and Impact cannot survive longer. Dignitas pulls back. The death sentence won't find Jensen, who grabs the rampage onto Adrian.
Flashing forward, Chewie once more.
Jensen trying to take this fight even further, grabs the double kill onto Keane, looking to make a triple into Shrimp. Now the triple comes through, and 4 die on Dignitas. Cloud9 makes that fight work.
Massive cleanup by the backline of C9. Jensen and Sneaky cleaning up after that one because it looked bad to start. Sneaky got hooked. It burned the Taric ultimate. That's the safety net C9 has for their dives. And Dig looked like they may turn around the game on that moment, but Jensen was untouched the whole time, and Sneaky stayed alive.
Now Ssumday tries to defend, but 1 man against 3. He'll hold it for now. Cloud9 has got to be pleased with the way they managed to play that towards the back end. Such a good job. Let's take another look at it.
Yeah, you got to be able to adapt in the heat of the moment. That hook lands. Sneaky saved by the Cosmic Radiance, but he's at half health. So you got to wonder, what do they do? But remember, that Weaver's Wall did cut them off. Altec and Shrimp are cornered. Huge damage on both of them. That means Shen down on Shrimp. That means nothing left for Altec, nothing left for Keane. They're both pretty low here. And at this point, you're thinking, okay, maybe it's over. Impact and C9 make the call to turn. 4-man Cataclysm. Altec has to jump out of it. And then Jensen and Sneaky just chase through. The aggression here from Jensen. Flashing forward, getting new workaround, finishing Keane. Smoothie chaining the stun onto Shrimp. That's the type of aggression you want to see out of C9. Even Sneaky rocking, jumping forward at the end, leaving himself with a sliver of health. You got to be able to make those calls and take those risks to close out games with the small leads turning into big ones.
And the lead continues to grow because as we were watching the replay, the Infernal Drake was taken by Cloud9. The next Infernal is going to be spawning if the game goes on for another 6 minutes. So they've got bonus damage. Weaver's Wall comes in. Adrian getting himself knocked up into the air, but still not caught on the wrong side of the wall. Dignitas, life gets harder and harder as they're now down over 10,000 gold. 3,400 of that coming from Cloud9's Baron power play. Taking it that early made it very, very effective.
Yeah.
For getting that job done.
Big improvement of their negative Baron power play in game 2.
Yeah, 3,400, negative 600.
Yeah, same difference. Yeah, we mentioned Jensen. 604 completed Leandry's working on Void Staff. Yes, Ssumday did complete an item, but it's just a Randwins. That's not the type of item you think, I got this now. Now we'll...
Oh yeah, this is the change. This is where everything shifts, but Gargoyle's Stoneplate will be his next item, it looks like, so... Trying to make sure he can soak all that damage in the middle of the fight, but there is so much of it now, Jat. 2 Leandry's Torments. Armor penetration done for Sneaky's Tristana, realizing he's having to put so much of his time into auto-attacking the Nunu and the Shen and the Thresh. Wants to make that effective. Which makes a lot of sense, honestly. If you got to hang back like that and just go front to back in the team fights, then that armor penetration is worth prioritizing over getting that second crit item, over going for the rapid fire cannon.
Yeah, it is. You need to be able to get through the Nunu and the Shen. And for Team Dignitas, even in game 1 when they won in 22 minutes, they have been drafting themselves into these types of team compositions with double to triple frontline and Keane and Altec doing almost all of the damage, which can look really good when you were ahead, but when you are behind, puts you in very difficult situations. So they've even gone a defensive item with Abyssal Mask on Cassiopeia, and Kalista's not the hyper carry type of AD. So
no.
Now it's really hard for them to kill Smoothie and Impact. Even though those aren't super strong frontliners, it's just Dig doesn't have that much damage. So going to be hard for them to make this comeback based on their low damage team composition.
And again, that's the fault of going for these 3-tank heavy frontline comps. They're really good if you get ahead, but once you fall behind, team fighting can become rather difficult. Punishes become harder to accomplish. And Dignitas struggles to find that footing still as Baron spawns in the next 5 seconds. Cloud9 goes for it, and Dig has to make some kind of a contest here, because if they don't, I mean, how do you even win if Cloud9 gets the second Baron for free?
Yeah, exactly. And they're going to be able to push pretty strong with that. Plus, C9 is winning the Drake game after some of the things that happened earlier, and they're just looking for that one pick. Contractz found the winning initiations last game on Zach. That's not the man you want to hook.
Not at all. Impact zoning those guys away with the threat of the flank. Contractz doesn't get a cocoon onto anybody, but it's still enough to make Dig regroup and rethink.
Yeah, plus the danger here is if C9 ever does get a jump on the Baron,
uh-oh,
they have the Weaver's Wall as well to turn it into more.
Here we go. Adrian caught out, saved by the Fate's Call. Impact going for that stone plate so he can get in the middle of the fight. As soon as it wears off, Cosmic Radiance comes in, protects him from Keane's Twin Fangs. Cloud9 forces out a couple of defensive tools from Dignitas. Burns Adrian very, very low, but doesn't quite find a kill.
Yeah, C9 not going to be too happy about that one. Burning Taric ultimate and Jarvan ultimate for Kalista and Thresh. But they still have vision control. Now they're going Ssumday.
Oh, now the fight breaks out, and Ssumday is gone. That did not look like a tank to me, Jat.
Yeah, going to be happy about that one, though.
Full retreat from Dignitas as the Weaver's Wall is used. The pings come out from Cloud9 onto the Baron, and that is the call. But remember, as long as Nunu's alive, they've always got to double think about that one.
Yeah, well, this is why they're two-manning the Baron with full vision of the Nunu. So Contractz and Sneaky can burn this down, and the rest of C9 is going to peel away. I like this play a lot.
Very, very good control and understanding of the situation. Cloud9 playing smart, playing strong, and playing to win this game here very, very soon. 12,000 gold ahead. Another Baron under the belts. 15-7. They all regroup. They shop together. Jensen's not waiting around for an extra wave this time.
Progress. Just an EQ. Ssumday not that tanky, so he goes down pretty quick, and C9 now with a 10,000 gold lead. We're in the second Baron buff. Second Infernal Drake on the way if they just want to be patient, but probably going to look to break the inhibitor line.
They are moving towards this Drake area, sweeping it out, throwing down some vision of their own. I don't think Dignitas has any chance to potentially contest it. But just giving away more of these buffs means life goes from harder to hardest for Dignitas. Cloud9 pretty much has to have a spectacular throw. If Cloud9 doesn't do something completely ridiculous and misuse a big team fight ulti or something similar, Dignitas is so far behind that it's almost impossible to make your own destiny in these fights.
Yeah, we're in a very similar situation in Game 2, where Team Dignitas actually did win a fight 3-for-2 with Altec flanking around the back on Twitch, but that still wasn't even enough to turn around the game. So C9 in a very commanding position. Looks like they're still going to play it a little bit more slow and steady than Dignitas has been playing. Pick up the Infernal Drake, accentuate that objective control. Means also Elder will be spawning 37 minutes and 23 seconds, so a pretty early Elder. And now with double Infernal, just look to make another big push.
Now the silver lining for Dignitas is although they are significantly behind in this game, they haven't lost any inhibitors just yet. So that free map pressure isn't flowing into their base in the form of super minions. But Cloud9 now has 2 minutes and 15 seconds to change that with the remainder of the Baron buff. As sneaking Contractz push up the bottom lane. The Weaver's Wall is fired off, and this objective is not long for this world. Taken down in a couple of seconds as the inhibitor now finds itself the target of C9 aggression.
Yeah, really solid Weaver's Wall usage. Now they go for fight.
Flank from Impact, constantly tanking multiple members of Dignitas, not afraid of it whatsoever. Cataclysm going to be catching out 3, godlike for Jensen. Shrimp going to be melted down next. Back into the fight goes Impact with the flag and drag as Ssumday likely the third to fall here as Keane and Adrian, the only 2 casualties yet. Bottom lane inhibitor goes down, and that means Cloud9, 5 men strong, moves on to the Nexus. They will stop the Dignitas surge. They will kill Shrimp in the process. They'll send Altec to join him, and they'll take down this Nexus 32 minutes into Game 3.
C9 bounced back in the series and the week with a 2-0. This one over Team Dignitas with the reverse sweep. Jensen goes unkilled in the finale. Sneaky 5-1-9, and Contractz is Elise was ready for the Nunu this time, shutting down Shrimp time and time again.
Cloud9 finding the 2-0 after the 0-2 last week, showing that they are still competitors here in North American LCS play as we near the end of the split, and doing it in a smashing style.
Yeah, and you know that C9 is going to be around at the end of the split. They were 6-6. People were wondering if it was time to bail on Cloud9. Well, the 2-0 week tells you to hang around. And when we talk about Contractz shutting down Shrimp's Nunu, we weren't kidding around.
No.
912 damage to champions by Shrimp's Nunu.
Taric did 2,600. Yeah,
Huh?
Taric tripled the Nunu's damage to champions.
So Shrimp's Nunu doesn't even put points in Ice Blast. He goes all consume, all blood boil, so it's going to be low damage. But this is because every time Shrimp would go to ult in a team fight, it's a 3-second channel. Taric's ultimate's a 2.5-second channel. So Smoothie would just press R at the same time, and Shrimp never did damage with his ultimate the whole game.
And then all he could get damage from was Nunu slaps,
Yeah.
which do about 30 damage each, so you get 20 slaps in a game. Yeah, seems about right. But
The 9-12 game.
the 9-12 game, but what a showing from Cloud9. Honestly, everybody across the board stepping up. We were praising Altec and Adrian for how they've grown as a bottom lane on the side of Team Dignitas, but Sneaky and Smoothie have always been a strong bottom lane duo for Cloud9. They've always been guys that have been able to carry their own weight. And they said, Altec and Adrian, okay, no problem. They go blow for blow with them. And you mentioned it, Sneaky had a fantastic scoreline in this final game as well.
Yeah, and even if we look at the draft, it has an influence over these games, not the main factor. But in the series, the first pick had so much impact in games 1 and 2. Maokai crushed for Ssumday, Zach crushed for Contractz. You're thinking on game 3, how can we make the red side draft work? And Reaper found a way in that last game. He banned out 2 of the big jungle tanks. He pushed Team Dignitas into a decision. Kalista or Elise? Because Elise is also almost a permaban jungle champion. So the Kalista came in for Altec, not as effective as Contractz as Elise, and Cloud9 was able to take it.
Contract's performance in game 1 was not impressive, but in games 2 and 3, he did so much work for his team. But for more on the Cloud9 win, let's check in with Pastry Time and the victorious support.
Thank you very much. I'm here with Smoothie from Cloud9. First of all, congratulations on the 2-0 weekend. Cloud9 kind of finally getting some wins back in. And last game, we just heard the tidbit from the casters. Nunu, 900 damage. You on Taric from the support position, 2,600 damage. How do you even do that, man?
I mean, I didn't even do that much damage. It's just Nunu didn't do anything the whole game. It was really hard to play that. It's really hard to play the game from their side because if me and J4 are together, it's literally nothing they can do. They just have to wait till J4 goes bot lane to catch a wave, or yeah, their 5-5 is just not as strong.
And in general, what do you think of Taric? Because there's so many changes in the metagame, and I know it's a support that you've played quite a lot recently, and maybe it took a little while for teams to pick back up, but it does seem like a pretty strong pick right now.
Honestly, I didn't pick it up till like yesterday. I've always played Taric. Like, he's been a pretty fun champ for me, so I picked it up pretty fast. But I think he's a really strong champion. He's really, really safe, and his sustaining lane is really, really good. So it's just a strong champion because his team fighting is pretty much unmatched.
Does seem certainly very strong. And in general, the patches just, I think, hit every LCS team for in such a big way. I mean, huge amount of impact. I think everyone's kind of still figuring out the metagame. Do you, as a team, like the patch? Do you think it suits your style? And kind of what are your general thoughts on kind of how the metagame's developed just this weekend?
Well, the patch didn't affect us too much. We had a lot of problems. Like last week, of course, we went 0-2. But last week's losses were the biggest losses, like the most important games we played the split for sure. I learned like a really important lesson that I didn't even know like during Worlds or whatever. So that made me such a much better player than I am like last week. So we improved insane amount. Our scrim records have been really good, and it's just been a really positive week for sure.
And as far as changes go, if you don't mind sharing with me, what did actually change for you? Kind of what did you learn moving into this week after those losses?
I don't want to say too much, but I don't know. We just weren't really fighting enough. That sounds really weird, but I don't really want to go into specifics. But yeah, we just learned to fight smartly, I guess, and not just, oh, Jensen gets a solo kill here, or like we win bot lane or top wins or something, and we just snowball that advantage. We learned to fight more as a team and more as a cohesive unit. So it's a lot easier to play the game that way.
Well, of course, you have 2 weeks left now and some pretty tough matches ahead. You guys obviously want to finish as high as you can moving into playoffs. You guys look pretty good as far as your player positioning goes, but obviously finishing 6th could be super bad given the strength of the teams right at the top. So what are your thoughts for the team kind of moving into those last 2 weeks, and where do you guys think you'll finish at the end of the regular season?
Well, I'm hoping for like a top 3 finish, of course. Of course, everyone else is too, but I'm really confident going into the next couple weeks. Our improvement has been like insane this past week. So I expect it to go just as well. And I think my team like really knows how to like, you know, fight and like be a good team. Last week was a really bad showing. And even this week, the games we lost, we just got outdrafted. So we fix those mistakes and just take those games back.
Well, it seems like improvement's pretty good. Picking up Taric in 24 hours and a nice 2-0 weekend there for Smoothie and Cloud9. Thank you very much for your time. We are going to throw it back to the caster desk to hear a little bit more on the series.
Thank you, Pastry Time. And it's good that Smoothie mentioned the thing about getting out-drafted in their losses as his last point, because going into how they won this series, I want to talk about the team comp again, because they did make drafting decisions wisely.
Yeah, and I think they turned it around in this last game. The Taric was a big factor in both games 2 and 3 with the slow way the Team Dignitas likes to team fight. It would always give them time to get that full Taric ultimate channel off. But then you also have to look at the ability to trade power picks back and forth, leaving enough up that they're still going to get something they're comfortable with. They got more use out of the Elise than Team Dignitas got out of the Kalista, which is a 1 early draft from the red side.
And that use of the Elise we got to see very early on in the game. 4 minutes in, Cloud9 had a fight at Dragon 4 for 2, going up against Dignitas, who did get the Drake, but the fight went Cloud9's way.
Yeah, and this is something that requires a lot of team cohesion for C9. Other times, everyone will just be in the lane at 4 minutes, not thinking about the overall map as Shrimp's trying to solo an early Ocean Drake, which can then tilt the early game. Actually a little unlucky that Shrimp ends up getting that secure because he did not have the health necessary for the consumed smite. But then C9 just stronger on the fight because they were winning lanes before they moved down here. They landed enough skill shots down the stretch from Jensen. Smoothie baited this so beautifully on Keane. Keane still had his flash, but he committed for that kill onto Smoothie, allowing Impact to follow for the EQ and Jensen to clean it up with the threaded ball.
And that's what Smoothie was talking about, right? The team has been working together. They've been talking about taking smart fights and just generally fighting in a smarter way. And that was a perfect showcase of it. Another good example, 24 minutes in, C9 finds yet another 4 for 2, but this time on the other end of the map.
Yeah, 4 for 2s are great fights. And this one is something that they were willing to disengage. The Taric ultimate comes down, the Weaver's Wall cuts off. If they don't want to fight this, they don't have to. So now they get to make the decision to continue. They wait for Impact to arrive. They get the knockback from Jensen's Taliyah, and that's when they're willing to go. So they play it out slow because they know they can. They know Team Dignitas doesn't have that much damage in their team composition. Smoothie even uses his Talisman of Ascension for a bit of a disengage. The re-engage comes through for Impact. It's worth it because they get everyone low enough. And once Jensen sidesteps that death sentence, he can go for the big play onto Keane. Smoothie follows. Everyone is working together, which is the big key. It's not just Jensen going through, it's one after the other, and the team following up.
Some really nice team fighting from Cloud9 in these second couple of games. Well done. Look at that goal difference over time. There's a small little blue blip there at about 7 minutes, but the rest of it is just an ocean of red. And before we put this one in the books, the last thing that we got to address, the player of the game in this final game was Smoothie for all those plays. The bait onto the Keane that you talked about in that first fight, as well as just those constant ultimates, stopping the Nunu damage, great stuns, just everything from him on point.
Just allowing his team to go in at the right times. Had one of the highest kill participations on the team as well. 0-1-18 on Taric, so just a very effective game overall from Smoothie. He pulled out the Taric of Fairbird in the spring. Happy to see it back.
Yeah, being able to play that champion successfully and enable your team through those phenomenal team fighting abilities can truly allow them to shine in the 5v5 situations. But that's not all the league action we have for you today. Up next, it's the battle for first place between Immortals and Counter Logic Gaming. Don't you go anywhere. As Contractz drops for first blood, it's jungler for jungler. Dignitas guiding themselves back as Sneaky goes in, played backwards, and drops.
I'm looking him. Okay.
I'm 1 HP, okay? I need you back.
I'm A1.
Nice, good job, guys. Fucking good.
Nice, good job.
Sarin, pretty low though. Nunu consumed, ready to go as well. Will they go for it? No, they won't. The steal from Impact.
No, nice. Walk up. Okay.
Okay.
Cast no flash, Jensen. Cast no flash.
Okay, I'm going.
No stun.
Oh, nice.
I exhaust this guy. Exhaust this guy. Kill him. Nice.
Nice. Cataclysm going to be catching out 3. Godlike for Jensen. Shrimp going to be melted down next. Back if the fight goes Impact with the flag and dragon.